All right, let's get back into this Klopp thing because we know he can be. I am grateful for the fact that he's outspoken. It's got him in trouble in the past over Brexit, over the Super League, and we're not in trouble. But not everybody liked what he said.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't mind it. I think here though he said something which I think is fundamentally. I don't want to say is wrong, but I didn't quite like the way it came out. If I'm Ryan Mason, I get a little bit annoyed. He essentially came out and he said, well, look, we're 3-0 up, and then we ran into trouble because all Tottenham does, all Mason does, is just counterattack set pieces. They didn't open up, so we couldn't go forward. And, the implication is Liverpool were a little bit lost, not knowing how to play, right? Because they expected Spurs to come at them and chase the game, and they didn't. And I kind of want to say, well, you're the manager making $10 million a year. You figure it out. If this is how Ryan Mason wants to play, it's not like he's breaking the rules, right? By playing this way. It's a bit counterintuitive at 3-0 down, but you know what? They still scored a goal against you. They still hit the woodwork twice.
Big chances
right?
at the end of the first half, before their goal even.
So maybe tell your team not to be exposed to the counterattack if you see they're sitting deep. And then maybe it becomes a dull game because Liverpool says, haha, you're not coming at us. Well, we're not going to come at you. And then whatever. But then you're preserving a 3-0 lead. You can't blame Mason for this or say that, I think at one point he says, oh, Mason needs to needs to do what Mason thinks is right for Tottenham.
Yeah. Because he also said, Ryan Mason complaining about the red card that he felt Jota should have had and didn't get. And Klopp also said, well, he's got other things to not to worry about, but to focus on. I think he said something like that, as in make his team play better than thinking about if Jota should have been sent off or not sent off. And it's just okay, we know that he likes kind of teaching lessons to other people because that's why he can be at times a bit patronizing. That was very, very patronizing towards Ryan Mason. Yeah. I don't know if he felt he's a young coach. Maybe I think. Maybe Klopp felt so pumped by that incredible win, which is true because he must have thought, how on earth did we blow the 3-0 lead that we had against a team like that? So he must have been really cross, and then obviously super happy when Jota scored 90 seconds later. So I don't know if maybe straight after, it's not easy because he said that on Sky, it's not easy to react straight after a game like that. I think if you're a player in a flash interview or a coach or anything like that, because Ryan Mason also said, we were the better team by a mile. I mean, come on, mate.
Yeah, no.
Look, so sometimes they say stupid things.
I'll go out there. I like Klopp. I have a ton of respect for him. So I am inclined to
me
give
too,
him a pass in this situation because of the adrenaline of what happened, because it's post-game, because you did your hamstring, running over to shout at somebody. Maybe also the Tierney thing. He came out, he said Tierney said something unacceptable, right? As I mentioned before, PGML going saying, no, he didn't. Guys, you don't know. So if there is a charge, if there's an inquiry, let's let that run its course, right? Yeah. Because we mentioned off air, this is reminiscent to what happened with Mourinho and the fourth official, right? When Roma played Cremonese. For those who missed out on this, Mourinho was arguing, and the fourth official turned to him, and we now know what he said is, he said, why don't you go home? The whole stadium is laughing at you, right? At you. Which is not acceptable for a fourth official to say. So whatever Tierney said, whatever Klopp thinks he heard, whatever, if there is a charge, let's let the FA deal with it. I don't need the PGMOL coming no, we're the all-knowing eye. No, if you want to say, Tierney assures us he didn't say this, that's fine. You didn't say anything unacceptable, that's fine. But don't make it seem like, you're listening in on everything because you don't know. Just because he's mic'd up, it takes a second to cover your mic, right? Yeah. So I don't know. We don't know what happened. It's interesting, though, about Mason's approach to that game, and I think this is something we've seen a little bit in other leagues in Europe. Some teams are starting to do this, where you're 3-0 down against a good, right? 3-0 is kind of extreme. Let's say, or either 3-1 down. Let's say, right? Yeah. You just focus on your original game plan of counterattacking and set pieces. And then last 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, then you send on a ton of strikers and you try to create chaos, right? And you can do that with the 5 substitutions.
Yeah.
Is what Atalanta in Serie A, that's what he's been doing really the last 6 months. And it is yielding results. It's kind of a different way of playing, but that's the thing. This is a low-scoring sport. And you're almost kind of like lulling the game into sleep without exposing yourself. You still have your counterattacks and your set pieces if they work out. And I don't know, it's a different approach. It may not be aesthetically pleasing on the eye, but...
I'm not sure Spurs can play differently even if they wanted to. I don't think they've got the players in midfield to play differently. And I don't think they've got the system to play differently. Against United in midweek, they did play a bit more on the front foot in that second half, but it was in their own stadium. It's a bit different than going to Anfield. And so I think it's harsh to criticize the way they played in that second half. And they played well. And why would you play differently against a Liverpool team that you know is very vulnerable when you play like that? So...
Klopp also had something to say about Chelsea before the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you want to run us through that?
Yeah, he said, I mean, if you just take out... There's a quote where he says, it's good to see Chelsea not having a good season. It's good to see that it's not because you spend hundreds of millions that you're going to have that you're building a good team. If you listen or read
the context.
Context. He said that it's not nice for Chelsea to be in that position, but he kind of says that if you spend 100 million just like that on players, that doesn't make you a good team, and that doesn't guarantee you success.
Especially if you keep changing managers.
Which is true, by the way. So I don't understand why people got offended by what Klopp said on Chelsea. Because he's right. Everybody could say that it's not because you're going to spend 600 million that your team is going to be successful and win straight away. This is not how you build a winning team.
Look, I think that comment is an example of we in the media have a certain responsibility here, right? We want to ask questions and we want to get interesting answers from managers. When they give us their answers, especially on stuff that's maybe a little bit more contentious, a little bit spicier, like potentially this is, and by the way, like what you said, it's not rocket science. It's not like he reinvented the wheel by saying this. No. We have a responsibility to say, look, he's not sitting there sniping. We have a responsibility to deliver the context of what he's saying. That, you can spend a ton of money, but it also takes time and it takes stability. And Chelsea haven't had that this season for whatever reason. And so this is and when you look at it that way, it's nothing to get wound up about. But then there are certain portions of the media, or maybe it's also maybe we can also blame social media culture, right? I put out a tweet or something on Insta with like the little quote or and all of a sudden you lose the context of what he's saying. Yeah. I don't want Klopp to stop talking about football, to start talking about issues in football, because people are going to take stuff completely out of context and make it seem like, look, he's attacking this and blah, 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 and why don't you shut up? Because we already have so many managers who are like, oh, no, I don't talk about other teams. Well, maybe you should.
Although there was part of me that I think he knew exactly what he was saying. I think the line is good to see. He knew exactly that was going to create big headlines, because he could have said it very differently. He could have said, we see with Chelsea that you can spend and spend and spend and spend it. That doesn't guarantee you a successful team and a good team. Instead, it's good to see kind of Chelsea in that position after all the money they spent. I don't know. I think he's so smart that everything he says, he knows exactly the importance of it, the power of it. And
I don't know. I think it would be different if it was in the context of Chelsea playing Liverpool.
Yeah, maybe.
But they're not.
That's true.
It's in a completely different context. I think it's removed. I think he knew what he was saying, sure, but I certainly don't think it was it was a wind up. I want to ask you about, again, this Trent in midfield.
Oh, I love Trent in midfield.
You do?
I love Trent in midfield.
But you were being critical of it off air about the repercussions of him in playing.
No, I'm just saying that they're not there yet. In terms of the Trent in midfield experiment, or it might be more than an experiment now. It might be the transition into the Trent in midfield system and Liverpool as a football team. Because obviously defensively, if you have the ball and he's in midfield, if you lose the ball there, he's not anymore a right back because he was in midfield when you lost the ball.
No, but that's fine because you've got Henderson or Elliott
but it's
who
not,
are out there.
because Elliott can't do that yet. What you really need is a right winger that could also be a part of this shift, if you want, and shuffle, which Mo Salah isn't. But again, you don't want anything different because
What do you
he's
mean,
Mo
like
Salah.
Park Ji-sung?
No, but yeah.
That's what you need.
But for example, but you don't want
a defensive winger.
You don't want that because you want Mo Salah there, which is fair enough. That's what I mean. It's a work in progress.
Why can't Henderson or Elliott or somebody like that? I mean, this is essentially their job, right? Because when they have the ball in that area, it usually means they've pushed up, they've got a higher line, and you're basically asking one of the midfielders to go and cover that wide area, and when you lose possession, to be able to get back because Trent's not there.
I think the one that maybe holds the key to it is Konate, but again, he needs to stay fit because Matip could not do a job for two, pretty much, basically, and I think he would just take a bit of time. But I really hope that Klopp is persistent with it because I think it can really, really work. From a Liverpool point of view, it's just that in some big games, a bit like the one on Sunday, you'll have to accept that defensively it will be shaky. That at some point they would be shaky because you know that a lot of the teams who play on that side, they used to play on that side even when Trent was a more traditional right back anyway.
Right.
So now even more when he's coming inside and you see him more and more inside. So it'd be fascinating to follow. But I think a lot of people thought this was good for him. Even a few weeks, few months, few years ago. Now it's kind of happening, but there's a lot of adjustment to be done. But
Trent obviously started his career in midfield. He played there throughout.
not really.
Well,
It's not his career.
He signed professional terms when he was 16 years old, and he played there until he got into the first team when he was 18.
Yeah, but his professional career started at the first team.
Fine.
He never played in midfield.
But I'm saying is, growing up, he was a midfielder.
Yeah, true.
I'm just wondering, obviously you have Thiago who can do some of what Trent does in midfield when he's fit and he's playing, which isn't all the time. The option, you're not high on the option of what if Liverpool got themselves a right back and moved Trent permanently in midfield because it would affect the pressing game.
I think so. I just don't think it would work to have him as a proper midfielder. So in the 4-3-3 and you've got, let's say, Joe Gomez a right back and then the back four and then Fabinho, Trent and Curtis Jones, for example. I don't think it would work. I don't think Trent can press right now. I think he can learn and get there maybe. I don't think you would want him to press because you need him really there in front of your back four to use the ball and not recovering the ball at the corner flag, for example. That's not what you would want him to be doing.
Right, because he's not not a good crosser of the ball?
No, it's not for that. It's
of course he is.
But then often the play that press, the ball is not recovered there. It's recovered behind because the press forces the guy who you're pressing. So I'm trying, I press you.
I think what you're talking about is maybe he's not as great a passer receiving the ball in transition, right?
No, I think he is. No, but if I press you, I'm Trent, I press you, you have the ball. I come and press you. Right. You're going to hoof the ball or you're going to lose the ball by making a pass behind me. So I'm Trent. I'm not going to get the ball back. It's not me who's going to get the ball back.
My teammates have the ball and then they can pass the ball to me and then I
but that's what I mean
for Salah.
In the sense that it would not work in the structure of your team and of your press to have, I think, Trent in a permanent midfield position.
I don't know. If I'm asking a question, right?
Yeah.
Thiago is one of those guys who, when fit, has got the passing, the creativity, and can also press because he's done that, right? He's not a pressing machine, but he can do that. Why can't Trent do what Thiago does?
Because I think that he's
I'm assuming Trent is just as good an athlete as Thiago.
Yeah, maybe even better.
If not better. And he's certainly younger.
Yeah, certainly younger and, less injury prone.
Right.
I just don't think that in terms of, again, I think Thiago is a proper playmaker though, with all the attributes of a midfielder that Trent has in a way, but also doesn't have right now. I just think that you would have to change the structure of your midfield if you wanted Trent permanently there. And maybe you can see he doesn't play as high as if Thiago plays with Fabinho. Thiago is much higher than what Trent is now playing with Fabinho.
maybe this is the opportunity to do that. When you look forward to next season, when you look at the way Liverpool as a group are restructuring, right? Henderson's not getting any younger. He's going to be, 34?
Yeah.
Elliot
doesn't feel ready.
Thiago's in 30.
Yeah.
Elliot's going to grow into something, right?
Yeah.
Fabinho hasn't had a great season. Naby Keita's going to be gone, I assume.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a way to start thinking about restructuring a little bit the way you play to accommodate this. And maybe then you invest in a right back rather than a midfield. I don't know. Hey,
I think it's a fascinating evolution, that's for sure.
A word on, when it comes to Liverpool strikers, I'm not on the Darwin bandwagon. I'm not a Gakpo fan, although he seems like a very nice guy. But Luis Diaz, he gets me excited. And I think, what could this season have been like with a fit Luis Diaz?
Yeah.
And he scored a great goal, and he gives you the energy, and I think he makes Mo Salah better just by being there rather than having the other two clunkos running around, right?
Yeah,
I think am I too excited about Luis Diaz?
No, I don't think you are. I think you're right, and I think there's a reason why. I mean, you had a feeling when he was coming back that everybody at Liverpool within the club were really excited for a reason. When Jota came back, and I love Jota, and he's a great player.
Right, he's a different player.
People were happy that he was back, but didn't have the same excitement like you about Luis Diaz coming back, and even Klopp himself and the rest of the organization. So I think there's definitely something there. They have to be really careful with him. I think you'll be harsh with Gakpo because I thought he did a lot of really good things in that, especially in that first half.
He's useful, but he doesn't excite me.
No, I know.
Darwin Núñez doesn't. Neither of these dudes do not excite me.
Did you see Thiago Alcantara, by the way, just before Darwin came on, where he was sat, obviously injured or whatever it was because he had trainers on, sat really high behind the bench, and then came down to say something to Darwin, give him a kiss, and right by Klopp. And Klopp looked almost like, wait, what's happening here? Where is that coming from? And then Thiago went just back up, climbed over the... I think Luis Diaz, we never know, but it could have been a very different season, you're right, with him as the kind of counterpart of Mo Salah on the other side, a different threat, another threat. I think for Robertson, it would have been much better to have Luis Diaz.
No question.
And maybe that also explains why Robertson's season has been okay, but nothing as good as before, maybe, certainly with the ball. He made some bad mistakes defensively yesterday by holding on the ball too long. That could have been very costly, but yeah, we never know.
Word on Tottenham.
Yeah. They would have to stop starting the games like that. 5-0 down, 2-0 down, 3-0 down. I mean, come on.
I mean, is the Europa League in jeopardy?
Massively. Liverpool have all the momentum to finish in that fifth. I mean, I think 6 because the FA Cup final is City against United, and those two will be in the Champions League. That adds you an extra slot for Europa League. But 5th, 6th, I think they could finish 7th. If Brighton win the game in hand, they could be 8th. I think they have to.
If Brighton win their game in hand against Man City, that game in hand.
Yeah, true.
Wishful thinking.
But just, if you look at this, if you look at the fixtures list now and the table, it's like, okay, you have to be worried for Spurs. You have to be worried for Spurs because there's no really clear direction. I like Ryan Mason. I think he's a good guy, but right now he hasn't really changed anything from what was there before. I think he has a different message because he's a different personality to Conte and Stellini, but so
it's funny with Mason because I find that I'm liking him when he talks. I can't establish anything discernible with his coaching qualities because it doesn't look like both times that he came in. Yeah. It doesn't look like he changed things massively.
No.
Didn't have time and whatever. So I don't know what Mason, the coach, is, right? I can't speak to that. I like the way he talks. I think I'm called by the fact that he was one of my least favorite Tottenham players when he was playing.
Why? I love him.
Why?
He was completely like...
just a guy who ran around.
What do you hate about that? It's just like, he's irrelevant when he was
all
playing.
effort. He was no, but he was...
Some made a career like that.
It's fine, but I didn't look like, I don't know. I like footballers who can do more things with the ball,
okay,
right? Not the most gifted.
Yeah,
Tottenham. Sure. This is a team of Glenn Hoddle and Luka Modric and stuff like that, and Ryan Mason. Mason does not belong in the same sentence with the other two, right?
No,
we agree?
Nobody says it, that sentence, apart from you just now.
But and he's just going to stick around. Should they consider starting with Mason next year?
No. Surely not. So, I mean, he says, I'm ready. Okay. I think we've said that. Yeah, it's good that you're ready. I like the passion on the touchline. This is his club as well, so fair enough. But I don't see them giving him the job. No.
There would be such a roll of dice from Daniel Levy if you do that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.